Perfect. Well, thanks, Alessandro, and welcome everyone to Constructive Disruption, Nurturing a New Curriculum Framework. Recognizing the destructive nature involved in the fashion and textile industry, momentum for a global conversation regarding the future of fashion has been building over decades. Traditional design education has been complicit in maintaining the unsustainable system. Structures often provide a segmented linear progression with students accruing knowledge rather than sharing, establishing competitive relationships rather than nurturing collective endeavor. Or, as Tony Fry argues, a great deal of knowledge the university delivers is based on the needs of the world that was, and so is de facto education of disengagement or in error. Many aspects of the curricula are shaped by audits based on employability and as such feed into the established economic growth system that claims to be inclusive and socially cohesive. There is unease within the student population too. Around 30% of current jobs are projected to disappear in the next 20 years, and many of these will not stay as they are. As educators, we need to ask, what lies ahead? Envisioning the future of education, Fry proposes a fourth incarnation of the university, termed Urmadic. Its aim is to build an understanding of critical responses able to advance and direct the creation of viable futures. He argues what is currently mostly being taught fails to engage with the problems of the Anthropocene. He also sees a disjuncture between the vocational knowledge being imparted and the changing circumstances of industries, especially from the compound crisis of a rapidly changing world. Fry states that learning is a social and not individual process. This feeds into the circular economy's interconnected and interdisciplinary lens, providing a useful template for deep learning. The circular economy is currently underrepresented in traditional curricula, with academia largely schooling for one profession and task divisions. Whilst designing for a circular economy requires key competencies, by adopting circular thinking, cultures across the world are assumed to undergo a cultural evolution. Encouraging circular thinking, our proposal draws from two physical spaces, both developed to allow scientific experimentation through the lens of art and vice versa. Established within the Faculty of Art, Design and Media at Birmingham City University, thank you. The design lab, Matter Lab, provides a space for biomaterial experimentation. It is linked to a sustainable growth garden, which offers an environment for the creative problem solving of circular design challenges through the tending of a living, growing and evolving plot of land through seasonal change. Both act as facilitators, introducing students to the relevance of working with nature, supporting education as a time to open and expose oneself to different realities. Learning processes within these spaces stem from observing and working with nature and inform the STEAM-based pedagogical format behind our curriculum proposal. The aim is to empower each other through social interaction, investigating the roots of problems in a deeper way. Forced to slow down to nature's pace and by mimicking nature's circular flows, students gain the competency to rethink fashion through circular materials and manufacturing. Collective thinkers will be far more able to see themselves as contributing to an adaptive, organic entity than before, with collaboration as one of the key competencies identified for circular design. It provides a joint opportunity to dismantle the irrational systems surrounding academia and to recognize and use what is there in a way that welcomes nature's response. Watching constructive disruption in action becomes a point of discussion, influencing mindsets and raising awareness about the impact of material use.
The evolution of both spaces has been an organic process. Beginning in 2019 with the launch of Matter Lab, the Growth Garden was subsequently created in the summer of 2021. Both lab and garden are shaped by diverse interest groups, bringing expertise and enthusiasm in relation to textile processing, dyeing, and material development. The COVID years of 2020 and 21 allowed for theoretical reflection and the development of our conceptual framework. Home studio approaches emerged as an important satellite labs, building knowledge developed from open source resources, and supporting students' experimental major projects. In 2021, interviews for the curriculum development were conducted with an environmental engineer, an artist, and a textile technician to investigate their relationship with nature, work approaches, and reflective practices. The information was utilised to significantly underpin the proposed pedagogical approach, providing a foundation based on cross-disciplinary STEAM design thinking. Collecting students' perspectives and experiences in 2022 built our understanding of the impact of both initiatives, helping us to reflect and evaluate responses gained from our STEM insights. The three main objectives underpinning the pedagogical approach presented are firstly, to reflect and react to societal shifts and the changing values and needs of citizens. Secondly, to support individuals' lifelong learning through gaining circular design competencies. And finally, to define new metrics contributing to wider societal benefits. Designed to offer a system for constructive disruption, students learn from the strategies found in nature, such as cradle to cradle, a cyclical biological system that has nourished a planet of thriving, diverse abundance. The proposal provides a series of fluid stages operating at different levels, both in the physical and abstract spheres, and defining design as science in alignment with art. The artist interviewed expressed this in saying, we're all scientists really, it's just some people are scientists and are called scientists, some people are artists and who call themselves artists. MatterLab and the Growth Garden both place value on the importance of hands-on experiences and play. As with a healthy ecosystem, group vitality comes from having diverse inputs of people and perspectives. A cyclical seasonal structure offers 6 equal bi-monthly entry points per year, whilst each of the 5 sections on the annual timeline represents 1 module. Although the curriculum includes a duration of 3 years for each degree, students will have the possibility to define minor and major projects to work on by themselves, take time out, but also to keep up the momentum of their studies. This flexibility creates the basis of reflective practice, a process which is defined as continuous and dynamic, requiring time to absorb, apply, and think about the different ways that reflection is incorporated into everyday actions. Hence, while flexible module duration opportunities address different student needs, they also support different life stages, integrating lifelong learning and future literacy as a satellite system of an overall degree. Furthermore, it's assumed that flexible coordination of educational phases will lead towards better completion rates, higher self-esteem, and less stigma when delaying the degree. With the flexibility to shape one's own degree structure and module lengths, the framework embeds design thinking processes as an approach to review, iterate, and adjust, aiming at enhancing a higher outcome quality through short and long timeframes of inquiry. These reflective cycles enable students to move from sowing ideas, nurturing processes, to harvesting solutions.
So each module will begin with MatterLab and Growth Garden experience, informing the further progression of design and make. Casual observations ignite conversations, and individuals begin to engage with the part of the ecosystem where they can most contribute. Project management, growing seeds, weeding, and harvesting. Working through different module stages exposes students to unfamiliar processes, such as utilising waste streams, leading to renewed material perceptions for fashion and textile design application. Whilst assignment tasks address learning outcomes such as collaboration and social as well as environmental impact, a further focus lies on skills improvement for circular economy participation, shaping assessments and consideration of different methods. Wider perspectives will inform relevant competencies that connect communities and students. Replacing traditional grades with impact-orientated assessment criteria, module outcomes will automatically redirect the system that currently slows down societal change by prioritising individual performance. Stakeholders involved in assessing the student submissions impact on communities' real-life problems. It increases the level of insight and innovative learning. The curriculum redesign offers opportunities to increase collaborative practice and peer learning, partly replacing contact time with qualitative group experiences across year groups and other disciplines. Moreover, different entry points will flatten modules, key times when assessment pressures and admin workload impact on staff well-being. To understand whether student experiences aligns with the framework perspectives of change, employability, interdiscipline, collaboration, resilience, and a circular mindset, we began to cluster insights from the initial interviews with the engineer, artisan, technician into 4 key themes represented across the next 2 slides and compared their responses to student feedback. The STEAM approach observed nature's opportunities to think about the bigger picture whilst not fulfilling the desire for permanence, something the technician found really challenging. The artist stated, "Nature takes me into the real world. Its systems operate without any interruption or pauses. All activities on a macro and microscopic level are in a constant flow, nurturing its future." The new curriculum approach accommodates a completely new pace. It follows a form of seasonal circularity. The students working with curriculum circular design within the major projects show a real shift in mindset and approach, echoing the responses nature previously gained. Confidence and open-ended curiosity has clearly been fostered, and the urgency of finding new ways to utilize waste streams is really embraced. Being more involved in the process and craft has contributed to feeling more values towards the outcomes created. Changes in approach reflect the intersection of creativity and science in recognizing both the freedom of no restraints combined with the support of methodology, and risk-taking is embraced. As a process, nature works perfectly, the scientists observed, whilst all interviewees recognize that there is a need of a slowing of pace in order to be able to engage with the rhythms of nature. This demands patience and a level of acceptance, and furthermore, that nature is seen as helpful, often as a collaborative partner. The key phrases are mirrored in the student experiences who agreed on the requirements of a refocus within their own design work. They stated that sustainability should be at the forefront of any designer's mind, even as an oath to oneself, and this really evidences the establishment of new priorities. Excited about new ways of working, students started to become nature's ally, and they seek to share their experiences with others. The shift from individual learning to collective knowledge really leads to creating open source principles, inviting others to reproduce learning. Exposed to interdisciplinary environments, students develop the ambition to teach others as they evaluate their own explorations as key to a sustainable future. Whilst impact on employability will be closely monitored by the team, we have been recognized with publications in design magazines such as Design and more recently in Green Grads, allowing a cautious assumption that their learnings contribute to building sustainable careers. And also creative skills developed at MataLab have led to current employment by the STEAM House in supporting material entrepreneurship in the MatLab here. So this curriculum proposal contributes a growing call by academics to establish a more relevant basis for education and a certain influence to bring about societal change. STEAM education in fashion and textiles offers the opportunity to understand the circular economy by heart. It provides a microclimate for nurturing confidence in a new generation of thinkers who need to be able to grasp the wider consequences of their decision-making, both as generators and consumers of design. For a truly inclusive and radical circular curriculum to be adopted, a deep alignment of the role of design and production is needed, placing it within the parameters of a healthy, natural, and equitable ecosystem. Restructuring the academic calendar and equipping students to become change agents of the fashion and textiles future will positively impact on relationships on multidimensional levels. Nature becomes students' inspiration, partner, source, and aim. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. And just for my own clarity, so this is a curriculum that's currently in effect, or is planning to?
It would be so nice to have it in effect. It's still theory, but obviously we kind of draw a lot of input from our research and try to embed this into existing modules as good as we can.
Right.
And then with the periodic review coming up, maybe there's an opportunity to have more parts of the curriculum ideas embedded.
I think it was an attempt to think about where we're at now, maybe some of the challenges we experience as academics, and the chance maybe that those COVID times gave to step back. And it was a time when we were, gardens, nature became very much a part of our lives in maybe a much more deep way than the general sort of timescale allows. And I think it was an opportunity to really try and think what could be feasible, but also what really shakes up what is currently there. So it was trying to find a balance between those two aspects.
Hi, really exciting. I absolutely love the presentation. I'm just thinking logistically and the barriers and the challenges you might face from quality. I'm talking about internal and sort of national with regard to your proposal about the new sort of framework. Have you considered that, or have you had any discussions?
Thanks, Jackie. I mean, we kind of encourage our students to be risk-taking, and I think if we want to deliver education with a future perspective, we have to be risk-taking ourselves. And yes, BCU might be a dinosaur in embedding a curriculum like this, but I think if we don't push things, then we'll just not educate the students with the knowledge, with the skills ready for the future we are facing. And I mean, I'm actually, we're not really talking about the future, it's now.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the floor? Yeah.
Thank you very much. There's lots of interesting things in there, and I quite liked especially sort of falling back, sort of slowing down and falling back with sort of more natural patterns, seasonal patterns, which I think, if anything, we're speeding up rather than slowing down at the moment. I'm partially familiar with the circular economy, and I just wondered how critical your stance on that is, because STEAM is very much about being very critical, isn't it? And it's hailed as something new and fantastic, but there's actually loads of problems with it. And obviously you took your inspiration in terms of critical design, and you emphasize growth. So I just wanted to say, how do you define growth? And then how do you use the circular economy, and what were your reflections on it and the problems as part of that?
I think in terms of aligning it with the circular economy, it's more about looking at regeneration and keeping materials in flow, ensuring that everything that we teach our students is based on the awareness that we only have limited resources, that we have to ensure that the circular economy as we teach it isn't about recycling, but something that is a whole systems approach, including a much more intense engagement with, things like soil, agriculture, farming, looking at how slowly things take, and through this develop a value system within our own practice that really helps to shift from capitalism to something that's regenerative.
I also think that when interviewing the students, it was really interesting because some of our recent graduates have been utilising the Material Design Lab within the School of Fashion and Textiles for a number of years, and they've found that they've had to really slow down in the process of learning, because some of the biomaterial experimentation can evolve over time. So what they see in week 1 might be very different from they see in week 6, and that's very similar to the growth garden, where we might be planting now, but we won't be able to harvest until next year possibly, or in 6 months' time. So they're really starting to think about the pace that they work at and working by starting to mimic nature's pace a little bit. So it's been really interesting to get the feedback from students.
I think it's also been interesting to see how some of the students have really, I'm thinking of a couple of our recent textile design graduates who have set up final major projects that are really trying to engage in circularity and, you know, taking on the difficult challenges that entails, and are not shying away from that. They're very clear that things aren't perfect and that there's still more to be doing, but they're actually setting themselves those challenges, and they're realizing that's a challenge that they need to be able to try and confront. And we've had some very deep engagement with both creativity but also the process of recording and thinking more deeply about how to utilize their materials in a better way. And it's been really encouraging to see them, you know, not shying away from that challenge.
We'll like to end it there. Thank you to all the speakers for your papers and your presentations on them.